Hello, everybody. This is Ken Masson. I am the president of the Rotary Club of the World Disability Advocacy. And we are a group that's been around for about 4 years now, and our goal is to help with the human rights for people with disabilities around the world. And we do it in many different ways, and certainly one of them is with our guest today, who's going to talk about a way to make things certainly more accessible and helpful for people with blind or low vision issues. And Clay, a fellow Rotarian from California, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, yeah, thanks, Ken. My name's Clay Dienhart. I am a Rotarian with the Rotary Club of Orinda, California, and I am also general counsel for Be My Eyes, an app that helps blind people. I've been working with them and helping them since shortly after the company was founded in 2015. I started working with them outside council in early 2016, and I've been working on this project for about 10 years now. For those that are blind or have low vision, I am Caucasian, bald, and for those of you that are old enough, look a little bit like Uncle Fester without my glasses on. And I am wearing our Be My Eyes Be My Eyes shirt that actually has our logo, and also underneath it, although it's hard to see on the screen here, I'll stand up a little bit, has the Braille for LFG, which is a phrase that our CEO likes to use a lot.
Okay.
So that's a fun part of what we do.
And you brought another person with you today, and he's here, so I'm going to bring him up on the screen, Brian.
Absolutely, and
Hello,
fingers
Brian,
crossed.
can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm glad we can hear each other. That's important.
Fantastic.
And we were just doing introductions with Clay. So Clay just gave us a little bit about himself. Maybe, Brian, you can talk a little bit about yourself also, and we'll get into Be My Eyes in a few minutes.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thanks for having both of us. I'm Brian Bashan. I'm speaking to you from my home office in Berkeley, California. I'm a blind guy, and I'm a guy who has been interested in technology and ways to give blind people toolkits so we can have more fun in work and play and doing anything we want in life. And so for me, this has been a passion for many years. And before there was a Be My Eyes, I actually worked on an early startup before there was an iPhone, seeing whether we couldn't get remote visual assistants together. It was very hard pre-iPhone. And later on, 10 years ago, Be My Eyes launched with exactly this idea. We're going to get into it in a moment. But I've been an educator, a journalist, a technologist, a nonprofit administrator, doing all this as a blind person and using the technology available then. I so wish I could turn the clock back and give us the cool tools we have now, but that's a little bit about my background. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Brian. I was just telling Clay that our next speaker at the club is a gentleman from Kenya who's blind, and he climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. And so, he's that same mentality that there's nothing I can't do as long as I have the accessibility to do it. So,
right on.
He did that to raise money for white canes in the country. I don't know where I'll direct my questions to, so I'll just throw it out here to both of you at this point. And the first question is if you can tell us about Be My Eyes, a little bit of the history and what it is and how it works.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll start with the basic system and I'll give it to Clay for some follow-up. Everybody uses an iPhone around the world or an Android phone. It's got a camera in it. Be My Eyes figured out an easy way so that a volunteer who speaks your language, who's in your time zone, so you don't call somebody in the middle of the night, that volunteer will get will sign up. It's so easy to sign up. You just go get the app and you sign up in a minute. And then randomly, you'll get a call from somebody saying, I need to adjust this thermostat. Is it set at 20 degrees C or is that 23 degrees C? I need to adjust it. And they'll say, oh, press down this button. And it's a kind of easy dance between a random kind stranger who picks up on one end and the blind person who just needs, it could be 30 seconds of visual assistance and you're done and you've solved the problem. That's it in a nutshell. But that nutshell has grown so that we have 8.5 million volunteers in 120 countries, speaking 150 languages to blind people, 800,000 of whom have signed up for this service. And that's just the volunteer side. We'll talk about AI in a little bit.
Yeah, and just to add a little bit, our company was founded back in 2015 by Hans-Jørgen Weiberg, who is a Danish, actually furniture crafter, was his occupation before he developed this idea. And we have been running up and operational since then, and really have come a long way to, as Brian was saying, I think it's 150 countries, 180 languages. We are the only place where we really aren't are the countries that have sanctions against them where we're not allowed to be. Everywhere else in the world, we cover with somebody somewhere. So it's really an amazing thing, and we hear from people all over the world about how they use the app and are looking to increase our availability around the world as well every day.
Okay, good, super. I apologize. I'm in the city here in Colombia, and the dogs bark. So if they get too much, I'll mute myself. But it's a constant thing here, so I apologize for that. So I'm thinking too now. Of course, this app is available for free. There's no cost to the person, to the user. Correct?
Yeah, it's a core principle of Be My Eyes that the blind person shouldn't be charged for access. So that's what we do in terms of the end user. Absolutely.
So, and that's amazing. That's amazing. And maybe we can get into a little bit at some point how you fund that and how you make that work that way, because some people might say, "Hey, it's free. What's the catch? What's the catch?" But there is no catch, right?
No, when you have 8.5 million people who believe, like Rotarians, in service above self,
Yes.
they just want to give random acts of kindness to people who could use a little help along the way, and that's a core Rotary principle. It's a core human principle.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's also important to let people know we don't sell personal data. We're not making our money. We can talk in a minute about how we do make some money, but we're not making our money by collecting any personal data or selling personal data. We don't. We collect very little personal data, just that which is necessary to make the app work and to be able to connect you to a volunteer.
that's outstanding. So the app is, you're talking about it being on the cell phone. You can also have it on the computer. Is that correct?
You can, and by the way, we know that the first world often uses iPhones, but the rest of the world uses Android. We want to be sure that Be My Eyes could work on the least expensive, older model phones, so that if you're using a secondhand phone that you could get for $100 somewhere, it will still give you all the functionality of Be My Eyes, and we do. So we are interested. Most blind people live in the global south. We want to be sure that the technology not only is free, but that your device you're accessing with it is affordable.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so therefore, also I saw that you have or you can get glasses that have connection.
Well, funny you should mention them. I just happen to have a pair of them here. um, There are going to be many, many wearables now, but these are the Meta Ray-Bans. We've partnered with Meta, and these are a consumer thing. Meta's sold more than 2 million of these things at this point, not for blind people, for the average person in the world who wants to take a quick photo. But with these glasses, I can also call a Be My Eyes volunteer and get somebody, just like I was mentioning with the phone. And I can also use AI, which we'll get into, to get descriptions. But technology is changing so fast that this kind of thing, which was thousands of dollars a few years ago, this is now $300 or
Wow.
260, I think, on
Wow.
sale.
Wow.
So it's opening up by being able to use these hands free. It opens up a chance for me to, do hobbies and cook and do all kinds of other things. And I'm not one-handed holding a phone anymore.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
super.
I think it would help if because we haven't really talked about how this works even on the phone. Because I think the when you have used this on the phone for the first time, and then you think about how the Ray-Ban Meta glasses work, it's really a giant step forward. But the way our system normally works with volunteers, we create a one-way video, two-way audio channel using the phone, whether it's an iPhone or an Android phone. And so when a user is in our app and they press the or click, you use their voice to command the call a volunteer button, um, they'll be connected to a volunteer, and the volunteer will see whatever the camera is showing on the phone. And but it's not two-way video. It's just that one-way video from the blind user to the volunteer, and then the volunteer can describe what they're seeing. They can tell the blind user to move the phone one direction or the other to center the image. Once you shift that to being able to use the glasses, right now it's just a more natural thing because now you're able to, you kind of know what you're looking at or you know the direction you're, and you still may have to make adjustments. But as Brian was saying, you have your hands free now because it's connecting through your phone using the glasses. And it's just a more natural way of seeing things and making it a larger field of vision for the volunteer to be able to help.
Of course, and for that to work, it has to work through the Wi-Fi. I assume, or through being outside.
Bluetooth.
Yes, yeah, Bluetooth, right?
Yeah, so
So,
the glasses connect to the phone instead of connecting directly through as well. So in this
okay,
particular case, they're going to work Bluetooth through your phone. So it's whatever your
okay,
phone is connected to that's going to be the driving backend.
okay, excellent. So I have the app, let's say, on my phone. I'll put it in there. I'm in a situation where I'd like something described to me. So I hit the app. Is that what I do? And you're connecting me to a volunteer that's in my area or speaks my language.
Yes, absolutely. Both of those things have to be true. But maybe not in the area, because if I'm in California and I need somebody to describe the state of my washing machine at 11 at night, it's not going to call a Californian. It's too late. I'm going to be talking to somebody who's giving me assistance from Australia, who's speaking English, and
Okay.
it's in the middle of their business day, so we're not disturbing anybody that way. So if you want to talk about building understanding, both disability understanding and international understanding, this is a beautiful way of doing it.
Okay. So my, I guess I have this wrong. My image was that I'd call using the app, and you would connect me to I don't know, for a better word, an operator who would find out what your needs are and where you want to be, and they would find you a volunteer. That's not true. It goes directly to the volunteer.
Yeah, most of our calls are answered in 10 seconds. We will ping a bunch of volunteers at once. The first one who picks up the call gets the call, the others don't get it. So sometimes we hear from volunteers like, man, I really wanted to help out, but somebody else grabbed the call in front of me, um, which shows you how much of a reservoir of good feeling people have. They do really want to help out. Our biggest complaint from volunteers is, I wish we had more calls.
Um, okay. And so let me figure this out. Okay, so can you give me some examples of why somebody would call?
Oh yeah. Clay, you want to talk about the one we just talked about earlier this week?
I don't know which. Sorry, but I forget which one this is.
The guy who worked for the BBC, the blind guy.
No, why
Okay.
don't you do that? Because
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but I'm
we
blanking.
get zillions of
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. This was this was a guy who wrote us a tearful letter saying he's a BBC employee, he's blind, he has a I think a 2-year-old daughter. He used the glasses and with a volunteer in his ear, he would page through a picture book with his daughter for the first time that way. And it just brought tears to his eyes that using somebody else to help out hundreds of miles away, he got this thing with this kind of access intimacy with his daughter available this way. So that's one of a zillion ones. I can tell you about the blind guy who works on a ranch in Texas. He uses his glasses to make sure that the herd of cows is over there instead of over here, so
Uh,
he doesn't get in the middle of it.
yeah, there you go.
Or yeah, or the mother in South Africa who gets a report card for her kid, and it's this is she speaks a language there, Kosa. She needed another person who spoke Kosa to read the report card, which was just a piece of paper, so she could actively participate in her kids' schooling. There's hundreds and hundreds of these things, just micro things. Can you adjust the thermostat? What's the expiration date of this milk? What are the ingredients? Are there any peanuts in this product, and so forth?
And I was thinking also because one of the things we focus on is people with disabilities in disaster situations. Say, for example, down here in Colombia, we've been recently having a lot of floods because the rain's been so high. For somebody who's blind, they would need that information. What's going on around me? Where's my access to get out of this situation? Do you have anybody in that situation? They got pretty serious stuff.
Yes, I've heard stories. Sometimes a bus is rerouted in an emergency, and somebody comes along and slaps a piece of paper on the bus stop saying, "Bus is no longer in service. Pick up here." Well, that's completely inaccessible to us, but with the glasses, we can read whatever signage and emergency last-minute posters are up there.
Okay,
You know,
that's
I
a
think
that's a
it's I do think it's important to say though, right? The example that Brian gave is a good one about how the service can be of use in a situation like that. But a key part of that was that the person using it at that point isn't in any immediate danger. What we always tell people is, you know, this service is wonderful, but it is not a substitute for calling 911 or
yeah,
I think 444 in Europe, whatever the
yes,
numbers are,
yes,
when you need that, right?
yes,
Because we can't. The person on the other end of the phone probably can't do that for you,
yes.
or may not be able to. So that's important to understand what the
Okay,
limitations are, as well as how well it can work.
yes, of course. Um, like for example, then in California, we had the fires. There were a couple of people with disabilities that died sadly.
Yeah.
And but in that case, they didn't call the emergency. I don't think, or somebody. It's a long story anyway. But I understand what you're saying. You're going to advise some people just call 911 or something at that point. Okay,
Yeah.
so
but you're right about the fires. We had other users when the evacuation zone is posted. They'll say, "Look at the map on the website, and if you're in this zone, you have to get out now." Well, that's a
right,
graphic. Um,
right,
Using Be My Eyes, somebody could say, "Okay, everything east of Spruce Street, you have to leave." It's a way around a thoughtless, non-inclusive way to put up a website, and unnecessary. But
yes,
when there's an emergency, you just got to go with all the tools you have.
yes,
I,
absolutely.
I think the other thing to say is, and I don't think I mentioned this when I introduced myself, but I am sighted, although my glasses are pretty thick. But the
Mhm.
when I as I have done this over the years, what I have realized is how much sighted people don't really understand about the just the everyday things that can be inaccessible to people who are blind or have low vision. So things like modern day washing machines that have electronic controls instead of tactile knobs. So you can't see, am I set on the right setting or not, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think that's a really good example. Just day to day, which can of soup do I told Brian this is the example I always use, and I thought it was kind of a dumb one, and he said, "No, it's actually real, right? Which can of soup do I have in front of me when I'm by myself,
Right.
right?"
Right.
And we kind of don't think about those things, but one of the great things about Be My Eyes, and we'll talk about the AI version in a minute that helps even more, but is that those mundane everyday things that have been difficult and in some cases, like the washing machines, maybe even impossible to have without having to go find somebody and bring them in, people can now do living by themselves or just when they happen to be by themselves using apps like Be My Eyes.
Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about the volunteers. First of all, how does a person interested volunteer to be a volunteer?
You want to take that, Clay?
Yeah, you just download the app and sign up. That's the great thing. Basically, volunteering has gotten around by word of mouth and by the fact that people post on TikTok, on Facebook, on various other social media platforms about the experiences that they have with Be My Eyes. And then that encourages other people to go to the App Store, download the app, and sign up as a volunteer. That's all you have to do. And then you will tell us where we'll find out where you are, what language you speak, what time zone you're in, again, so that we can make those connections like Brian was talking about. And then hopefully, real soon, you'll get a call from somebody that's looking for help. There's no, it's no more difficult than that.
Okay. However, from what you're describing to me, you're not training these people how to give a description, correct?
That's correct. We don't do training. These are all volunteers. But I think the other thing is having done calls, received calls as a volunteer. It's just part of natural conversation. Excuse me. It's just part of natural conversation, right?
Yeah.
Which can of soup do I have in my hand on? What does my dial say? You don't really need a lot of training to see what you can see and to
Right.
describe that for
Right.
someone. And there's that back and forth of conversation. And that is, Brian can speak to this more than I, but that's kind of part of the magic about this both
Yes.
ways. Is one of the issues that blind people have in a lot of the world is loneliness. And just that being able to make that human connection and be able to have that conversation
Mhm.
is kind of has benefits that are beyond just figuring out where my dial is on the washing machine.
Okay.
Yeah, the randomness of who you're going to get is makes it fun. And
Right.
you may think at first like, oh, don't these people need to be specially trained to work with the blind? Well, I go out, set foot outdoors, I get off the bus, I get off the train, and I'm going to ask somebody for assistance. They're going to be the random person who happens to be passing by. They're always delighted to help out. And it's just that nobody is trained. It's just this dance that we do as human beings. Oh, can you help me find the entrance to this restaurant? Oh yeah, let me walk with you over there. And
Mhm.
it's done. That's exactly what happens in Be My Eyes. It's just the great mass of kind humanity who wants to help out.
Absolutely. But I know, for example, when I write alt text or something like that, or a description of the image, I don't always think I'm really good at it because probably I should give more detail than I'm giving. So that's why I'm asking. Some people probably will give very little detail because it's only necessary, but others may give much more detail to the person who is blind. And for example, the way I actually heard about you guys was a video I was watching from a news station in Massachusetts and in USA, and the guy is a mechanic, He's a blind mechanic. He was sighted at some point and then lost his sight, so he knows the engine by feeling it. But for him to call up and want some more description, that's much more descriptive of what he's going to need. Then maybe he can ask questions at that point if he's not
Right.
getting a good answer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. It's interactive, right? It's back and forth, and so there's it's a conversation as opposed to an answer, and I think that's the key.
Okay. Because if I were describing a car engine, which is not my thing, I would say, well, there's a wire and there's a black box here, and
But you know, the blind person's going to guide you. I've
yeah,
literally asked somebody on Be My Eyes, is this the red wire or the black wire? You know,
yeah.
that's kind of important when you're hooking up something. Uh,
Okay,
You're not
so
supposed to tell the lawyer that, Brian.
um, and I would imagine you're liable. You're not. Yeah, there's no concern there. This is a service, so that if somebody gives a wrong description, that's but that's a whole nother category I don't want to get into. So then, okay, so once again, I call it up within you were saying a few seconds. I'm going to get somebody to answer the phone for me. I take a picture of what I'm trying to see. Correct.
or it's actually
No.
video
Yeah.
A video. I do a video or maybe a live video or something like
live.
that. What I'm going to see, and I would assume some of these conversations last for a few seconds. Some of them may go on much longer on that. So, who can anybody get the app if you're even if you don't have like if you're low vision or you're blind? There's no discrimination on that. I mean, I'm not sure why you
So
want the app, but I'm just saying that anybody could do it, right?
so yes is the short answer. The anybody can download the app. Once you download the app, there's a process for saying whether you want to be a volunteer or whether you're a blind or low vision user. We do not test to make sure, we don't run any kind of test or qualification process to make sure that someone is blind or has low vision before they can use the app. And so, yes, we do occasionally get pranksters. We do occasionally get people that are using it. And again, at some point, we should talk about the AI. And certainly, when we added AI, our usage almost certainly went up amongst people that were sighted originally. But we do have ways to tell. Sometimes people will complain, for example, if it's a prankster. The volunteer has the ability at the end of a call to report a call if someone is doing something that is inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, we find those accounts and we block them and all those kind of normal things. But the point is to help as many people as possible.
Sure,
So the onboarding is absolutely as frictionless as possible.
sure, absolutely. So you've mentioned a couple of times about AI. So what is the AI component? Is it AI giving a description, or is there something else that AI is
Yeah.
doing for you guys?
Now we started this just about 2 years ago. We added to the volunteer description the option. Maybe you want to have one of the models describe things. Sometimes blind people, maybe it's 11 o'clock at night. You don't, or maybe you don't feel like bothering somebody. You think it's so trivial. Maybe you just want to describe, like, you're in a park and you want, what's there. It just seems like, um, and you go to the AI and you snap a picture. Right now, it's just static photos. It will be video very shortly, but you snap a picture. You wait less than 10 seconds usually, and then you get a whole description. The image shows a park with park benches on the left, a lake in the distance, a clump of trees on the right, and a path leading to a kiosk. It literally will show that kind of thing. It'll describe colors and lushness, and it's startling if you've never used it. Um, we wondered 2 years ago, would any blind people use this? When you have a volunteer, why would you want to do this? And so we launched it in March of 23. And today we're getting 3.5 million requests every month of blind people using AI for every kind of description you can imagine. Like, for instance, you take a AI picture of a microwave. My microwave might have 50 buttons on the front. And, it will describe sequentially. The top row is heat and then power and then this and then that. And nowadays, you can have the whole description and you can save it. Then you can send it to yourself. And so instead of having to take a picture every time you're at the microwave, you now have your own built-in little document, and suddenly you know where everything is. That's the power of AI.
That's nice. So what you're saying to me, it gives you an audio description, but can give you a text description too.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wow.
I
That's very
can.
cool.
I'm going to actually try something. We didn't plan to
Oh,
do this,
you're
but
going to do it. Okay.
I'm going to do the live demo, which is the bane of everybody's existence. I'm going to try this anyway. We're going to see. I'm going to take out my AirPods first, so that I get switched to my computer microphone. I'm going to take a picture using Be My AI, and then have my volume turned all the way up, and hopefully you'll be able to hear it when it plays back out. We'll see if it works.
That's good. Yeah, okay. We can't hear you at this moment, but there's no audio at this moment. But
Okay, you go. Now can you hear me?
there you go. Now there's audio.
Okay,
there we go.
perfect. It had moved to mute when I did that. All right, so now let's try. I'm going to step back and I'm just going to take a picture of my very messy desk and computer screen. All right.
A cluttered desk in front of a large window with a scenic view of hills and a clear blue sky. On the desk, there are 2 computer monitors. The main monitor displays a video conference with 3 participants, each in their own video box. The second monitor is turned off or in sleep mode. The desk is scattered with various items, including a bowl with a spoon, a glass of water, a keyboard, papers, headphones, and some electronic accessories. The window behind the desk provides a view of lush greenery and distant hills.
It's very cool. Very cool.
Gives me goosebumps every time.
Isn't it? It's fun.
Yeah, it's very cool. So let me take a second here just to give a little commercial for the club, and we'll come back in 1 minute. So I am the president of a Rotary Club that is called the Rotary Club of World Disability Advocacy. And we are global. So we're working on disability issues. We're working on disability issues around the world. And I shouldn't be doing 2 things at one time here, so I've got to keep focused. I'm trying to pull up my email address, but it's not coming up. So we are basically in 30 different countries at this point. I believe we are the most diverse club in the world. And we, once again, are working on different projects to help people with disabilities. And a lot of it is what we do is awareness. So if you want to learn more about the club, I recommend that you write to us. And yes, I got the address up here. So you can write to us at rotarywda@gmail.com. and tell us that you're interested in getting involved in what we're doing. We have different levels of membership, depending on how much you want to get involved in this. Okay, so let's get back, and let me take this banner down while we're talking. So I see on your website that you also are looking to collaborate with businesses. Is that true?
Yes, so we provide primarily right now, what we provide is what we call, oh shoot, Brian, I just did my
customer service.
Customer service, customer support. We had an old name for it called specialized help that we don't use anymore, but I've been doing this for so long that I can't give up the old name. Actually, Ken, we sent you a link. I think one of the great, and we'll show this video in just a second. So what we do is our users are able to use our app to use our service directory and find customers, find companies that are a part of our Service Connect network that can help them by providing visually assisted customer support when they have a problem that they need help for that they can't solve. So if you think about it, right, you and I, when we're using a computer, um, we can, if we call Microsoft, we can look at our computer and we can say, well, I've got the spinny wheel of death, or I've got the, or my, and they can say, well, do you see this on the screen? Are you getting this message? And you can say, well, yes, I am, or no, I'm not. If you're blind, you can't do that. And so what we do is we help people to be able to get that visual assistance in their support. This is actually how we make money. That the earlier question about how are we going to keep this free? This is how, right? By charging companies like Microsoft for them to meet really their obligation to provide customer support that's equal to what they provide to other people. Microsoft didn't do this because it's their obligation. Microsoft did this because they realized it was a fabulous idea, because they wanted to help the community. So we've worked with them almost since the very beginning of rolling out this product. They were our first customer. And so anyway, Ken, if you can show that video, I think it gives a really good example of how this works.
I'm going to pull it up, and just give me a second to get it going, and we'll be all set. So I'm going to add it to the stage here, and I will go in there and start it. Here we go.
I think that the Disability Answer Desk is a really great thing.
David Bouchard, a Be My Eyes user, describes his experience.
I use the Be My Eyes app pretty frequently. I use it to get visual information that otherwise wouldn't be available to me, such as maybe a sign, a LED screen.
Senior Technical Advisor Chitra speaks from the Microsoft Disability Answer Desk Center.
At Microsoft Disability Answer Desk, we provide free technical support for customers with disabilities. With this integration with Be My Eyes, we can help you with tasks like installing Office 365, troubleshooting your internet connection, or even learning about the physical characteristics of your new Surface Book.
The service offers free technical support for people with disabilities.
All the users have to do is go ahead and click on the specialized help, and there is an option for them to contact the Microsoft Disability Answer Desk to help them with any technical issues they have.
Free app for iOS and Android.
Thank you for calling the Microsoft Disability Answer Desk. How can I assist you today?
It really takes away the visual barrier that sometimes exists. Because it's a free service, I'm really pleased that it augments the skills that I have.
We want to make sure we give our best service to our customers when and how they want.
Everyone who's blind and has a smartphone should have it on their phone. I really applaud Microsoft for taking this step.
Learn more at aka.ms/Be My Eyes. Microsoft.
Okay, shut this off. Okay, go back. So, therefore, anybody, any company wants to team up with you somehow?
Yeah,
they get in touch with you on the website. Is that true?
Yeah, very much so. They become our customers. We have a lot of, some of our other customers that already are doing this. Hilton hotels around the world are doing this. Sony, we have using our service, Barilla, Pasta. There are a large number of companies. You can find them in our service directory that is part of our app for the blind users that have our app, and they can connect to these companies and get the kind of support that they need.
Okay, sounds good. Now, you're not the only app like this in the world. I mean, there are others. As far as I know, you're the only free one. Correct?
Well, we're the only free one that connects to volunteers. Microsoft does have a Seeing AI app that I know Brian uses. It's free, isn't it, Brian?
Yeah, it is. There are lots of bits and pieces around the metaverse, the verse, that can do a thing here or a thing there. We are really trying to be an inclusive app that has both the volunteers and the AI, soon the video, and something that I perhaps can announce here that in half a dozen countries, we're announcing tomorrow, easy accessible shopping for both products and flights. Um, this is part of the mantra of Be My Eyes, to making the world more
Nice,
accessible. And
nice.
so it's a one-stop place now that's growing and in power and flexibility.
I imagine there must be a few countries you have some issues with. I know here down in Colombia, if I try to go into some places in the United States on my computer, it's blocked. Not Colombia blocking. I'm not sure who's blocking it, but it's blocked. Is that an issue anyway?
Uh, there are half a dozen countries, I think, Clay, you know better than I, where we do not operate.
There are countries that we block because we have to, right? Uh, North Korea, uh, I can't remember all of them. Somalia, I think,
Right.
Sudan,
Yeah.
Syria, although that is going to go away, and Cuba. There are things that we are required to do because we are, an American company. But I don't know of companies, or I don't know of countries that necessarily block us. And I do know that in most countries that block US websites, people have these wonderful VPNs that they use
Right.
to get around those
Right.
blocks. And so even in some of those countries that may block us, we still get people from those countries because they are technologically savvy enough to be able to do that. Now, obviously, that's not reaching a large group of people who aren't technologically savvy enough to do that. But we try and grow as much as we can.
No, that's super. And you've done a good job because being a Rotary Club dedicated to people with disabilities, we have a number of blind people we work with, um, and everybody knows about your app. I haven't run into anybody who said, "Oh, no, I didn't know anything about it." I was just telling Clay before we went on the air that one of our Rotarians in Ethiopia who works with helping blind women get take care of their finances in Ethiopia. She's extremely familiar with your app and very supportive of it, and said wonderful things about it on our WhatsApp group. So you've done a good job getting this word out. To
Well,
be,
you touch on a really key point for today, which is, yes, especially you think about the internationalist bent of Rotary and how people are connected, especially along lines of service. But that is actually not true for a great bulk of blind people. Um, Here we are, I'm speaking from the United States. In many of the first world countries, there are blindness organizations, agencies, government agencies, private agencies. But in the bulk of the world, and especially in the global south, there are no such agencies. And getting the word out is so crucial. Yes, we have an unprecedented, more than anybody else in the world, 800,000 blind people have signed up. But there are 40 million people who are fully blind in the world, and maybe something like 280,000 people who are blind and have low vision. 280 million people who are blind or have low vision.
mm-hmm.
So in terms of getting the word out so that more and more people, everywhere there's a Rotary Club, every small club, this is the dissemination of this free app. You know, our missions are kind of similar: globalist, international, humanitarian, free.
Mm-hmm.
And so, insofar as we can work together to get that word out, that would be a huge service that Rotary could provide so that others who are not yet connected can do so.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to make sure we work together with you guys on collaborating on getting this word out. And where can I get the app? Is it on the Microsoft? Is that what I'm looking at? The Google Store and the Microsoft Store?
And the Apple Store. Yeah.
Apple Store. Yes, we can get it. Okay, and you're going to type in "Be My Eyes."
Yes, that'll get you there.
All right, that sounds super. And that's whether once again, I'm trying to encourage, and she seems like she wants to. And my wife, who speaks Spanish down here in Colombia, to become a volunteer. So we'll go through that process and see how that all works. So we can get back to you on that. Yeah. So how do people get in touch with you guys if they want to talk to you with the email or something?
Yeah, anybody that wants to reach me can just type, I'm very simple, Clay at Be My Eyes. And I am happy to answer and connect you to whoever in our company can help, or provide people with whatever they need to help us reach out to, again, to the people that we have been unable to reach so far, because the goal is to serve, every person who can be served and wants to be served, for us to be able to provide them with a free service.
I love it. I really love it.
And I could be reached also, Brian, Bryen at BeMyEyes.com as well.
Okay, super. All right. Well, like I said, well, I'm looking forward to us working more together to try to promote your service here as much as possible. Obviously, there are some areas of the world you can't work. I mean, we work in the villages, and some of I was just talking to somebody in the villages, Cameroon. I mean, there's no internet, so there's no way we can help them out. But you are certainly 800,000 people helping out in the world, and much appreciate that. So. Okay, well, thank you both for being here, and we will be in touch more, and hopefully some people out there who saw this will get in touch with you also.
Thank you.
Really a pleasure, and thanks for helping out in every way possible.
It's my pleasure. It's our Rotary Club pleasure. Yeah. So it's our duty as a Rotarian to do this kind of stuff. Exactly. All right, thank you. Take care. Have a good day. Bye.